Hello students, let us begin with our e-commerce session 3, and before that the quote that I'm giving today is a question. It's not a quote, it's a question, something that you can reflect on what you are consuming on a daily basis. Is it voice or is it noise? Okay, so voice is something that will uplift you, motivate you and keep you positive, whereas noise is something that is going to drain you and that is going to make you feel low, and that is just going to distract you, which is happening a lot on the social media nowadays. So be careful of that. Reflect on what you are consuming on a daily basis. Okay, let's begin with our e-commerce session 3. Today we are going to see the e-governance models. Okay, what is e-governance and its models, and we are going to see certain security measures that are being followed in e-commerce. So first one, e-governance. Okay, now there are certain government services that we are being provided. Okay, so all of these government services, when they implement IT, okay, for delivering it, it becomes e-governance, that is electronic governance. Okay, now why are we doing this? What is the basic purpose of doing it? It is to simplify all the processes, okay, to make it less time consuming so that the costs are reduced and it becomes paperless. So those are the basic purposes of why we are going into e-governance. And another thing is e-governance is aiming at a smart government. Okay, so the acronym has been given. It's also available in your textbook. Go through it. Next is types of e-governance. Okay, the first one is government to citizen. Okay, now who is providing the services? Government is providing the services. Okay, and who is accessing it? Citizens like you and me, any layman. Okay, we are all citizens of this country, so we are accessing it. Okay, what is the benefit of it? Reduction of time and cost in terms of whatever transaction we want to do with the government. Okay, and certain examples that are given is we need to pay taxes. Taxation is usually for the employees, but you get the concept of it. Okay, and the license renewals. Okay, so all these are government to citizen facilities that are being provided. Next is government to business. Okay, so the services between the government and the business organizations, they have implemented IT and come up with this G2B model. So here again, saving of time, cost, transparency is available. Okay, so that is the basic purpose of it. And certain examples, okay, how the businesses are getting benefited is support auctions. Okay, sometimes there are project bids that are being provided by the government and the business organization participate in this bid, so that is the auction. And certain application submission facilities that the business organizations need to submit to the government, all these services are being provided in the G2B model. Next is government to government. Okay, now you already are aware of the government classifications, local and central, state, etc. There is also domestic and foreign government. So all of these communication between these different government agencies, okay, to make it safe and secure, the IT has been implemented in this model. Okay, and they also share the same database using online communication. So the purpose of having the same database is also that the data is consistent no matter who is accessing it. Next is government to employee. So employee is the one who is working for a certain company. Okay, what facilities can they be provided? Okay, so G2E aims at improvising knowledge sharing. So whatever project knowledge an employee has, it is also put in electronically in the systems, which can be made available to his colleagues who are new to the project or just for the sake of knowledge sharing. Okay, then other facilities for employees are application of leave and salary payment record. All these related to employee details are present electronically by the G2E model. Okay, and human resource training and development, so the whatever the course has to be taken for the employee training and development is also done in this model. Next is the security measures. Now we are already aware of the payment modes, yeah, payment methods that we have seen in e-commerce session 2. Now we'll go through the security measures by which these electronic transactions are made safe. The first one is encryption. Okay, what we are doing in encryption is we have a plain text available. Okay, a plain text is available here. Okay, plain text, meet me in the garden. Okay, and what I want to do is when I'm passing this message, I don't want someone else to get this message. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm using an encryption key. Okay, an encryption key is used. Okay, and it converts this plain text into a ciphertext. So this now becomes the ciphertext. Whatever you're seeing here, this is something not understandable. Coded text is ciphertext. Okay, what is readable and understandable is plain text. Okay, here's the further process that is happening over the internet. Now Alice here is sending some plain text, but she encrypts it and makes it into a ciphertext, and she's transmitting this over the internet. And Bob here has the encryption key which he will decrypt it and get the plain text. Now Eve here, even if she snoops and gets the ciphertext, which is going to look something like this, she's not going to make any sense out of it. Yes, so that's the purpose of encryption. Now, private and sensitive information being sent from the browser to server is encrypted. Okay, these informations could be personal information, passwords that we enter sometimes in the websites, or payment information. So anything that is private and personal is being encrypted. And you can see here the same thing that has been explained: plain text to ciphertext encryption, and ciphertext to plain text is decryption. Encryption is conversion of the plain text to ciphertext, and decryption is conversion of the ciphertext to plain text. Ultimately, this receiver will understand the plain text. Okay, so from this context, encryption and decryption both together form the cryptography process. Okay, now there are two types of encryption. One is symmetric and one is asymmetric. Okay, in symmetric is what we have seen right now in our example. There was just one key being used. Okay, if a single key is used for encryption and decryption process, it becomes a symmetric encryption. Now if there are two different keys that are used, okay, for encryption there is a different key that is used, and for decryption there's a different key that is used, then it becomes an asymmetric encryption process. Okay, it is also called as public key encryption. Asymmetric is also called as public key, and symmetric is also called shared secret encryption. So know those definitions and concepts. Next we will see digital signature security measure. Okay, now what is happening here is Bob here, okay, is transmitting a document. This document also contains a digital signature, and what Bob is doing is he's encrypting this using his private key and sending over the internet to his friend Alice. Okay, now Alice has Bob's public key, okay, with which Alice is decrypting the document and the digital signature, and then Alice is able to verify, this document was sent by Bob and nobody else. Okay, because this decryption by Bob's public key is only possible if Bob, who has the private key, has also encrypted the document. Okay, Now, conceptually, we are checking here the authenticity of an electronic document. That is to know that the sender who has really sent the document, the way I'm receiving it. Let's say Alice is selling, have I received this from Bob? Yes, we have. You have received it from Bob, because it is only possible for Bob to have his private key and encrypt the document. Okay, so that is checking the authenticity of an electronic document to know whether this it is for sure sent by the sender. And we use the encryption technique, asymmetric cryptography, because how many keys are involved here? One private key is involved and one public key is involved. Okay, so that is the asymmetric cryptography that is being done in the digital signature. Next is digital certificate. Let's go through a simple example. Let's say a message is being sent from Jim to Chris over the internet. Now these, we'll assume that they are the business partners. Okay. Now Chris wants to know whether the message was really sent from Jim. Okay, because it's being sent over the internet. Has somebody snooped? Has somebody hacked? He wants to know it. So what Jim does, along with the message that he's sending, he sends a digital certificate to Chris. Okay, now the digital certificate is solely belongs to Jim and no one else. Why is that? Because the digital certificate, it also comes from a supreme authority. It is not just created by any XYZ, and proper authority is there who gives a specific certificate to a individual. So now Chris can be assured that since the digital certificate has come to me from Jim and the message, now nobody else could have sent me that message. So what is the concept here is that a digital certificate is like an electronic password, okay, that allows a person, organization, okay, to exchange data securely over the internet. Okay, and they are also using public key infrastructure, which is public key encryption. The example that I had given before, the first example that I had given with the encryption slide, you can go through it. It is the public key infrastructure. Okay, so this is the concept of digital certificate. In digital signature, there's also a document that is coming in for encryption. In digital certificate, there is a message and a electronic password, okay, that is coming in to verify the sender. So those are your security measures and your e-governance basic concepts. Also go through your textbook. You will understand it better now. And following with after this presentation will be your assignments. So do well, stay positive, keep going.